So this is a friend of mine, Aydins Honda cd200. Now it's been chopped at the back. There hasn't been that much work done, just neatened up at the back and a flatter seat put on. To be fair, the work done makes it look a million times better than original. The originals were very boring, kind of Honda CG looking. They were designed for functionality rather than looks, which is great because this engine functions and rides and will probably run forever. So I'll show you some of the mods and then I'll show you why we're doing some filming today. Lots of the bike has been blacked out. It's got a shortened front mudguard on. The exhaust has been wrapped. I'm not sure if that's original end cans. Could very well be. The tank has been blacked out. I'm not sure how well it's been done. I'm not sure if it's petrol proof. So far it appears to be. Speedo has been changed, except it all still works. Indicators, high beam, neutral and so on has all been wired up, which is great. The rear end here, number plate's been moved down to the side, and your brake lights and indicators are here and here. Now I believe they are MOTable because of the distance, but I'm not sure. I may actually be taking this bike to an MOT on Saturday. I'm not sure what he's going to think about them. They're quite bright, to be fair. I'm just not sure they have the right surface area. You might get away with the indicators. It may need a second brake light. If that's the case, you could possibly attach one down here, maybe just to pass the MOT at this stage. But why are we doing this video? Because when I sit on this bike, I'm going to show you actually, it practically bottoms out. The rear seat practically touches the tyre, and when I go over bumps it does touch the tyre, which is really annoying. Now you can stiffen that suspension up a bit more. You can put in spacers and stuff, but that's the original suspension. It's not adjustable at all in height or in stiffness, which is a bit of a pain. And I had a set of these laying around in the garage. These are gas. They are adjustable in height and they are adjustable in stiffness, and I mean, to an extent, I don't like throwing the red on this black, but for functionality and performance, someone's going to want the bike to perform. This can be a historic everyday bike. In a year's time, this bike becomes tax free and MOT free, and it will never need an MOT or tax again. It will be free, and the insurance will cost pounds, as in a few pounds, maybe less than 100. So it's well worth keeping this bike ready. I will of course keep the original rear shocks available for the new buyer. This bike is for sale, and they can choose whether to put them back on or not and stiffen them up, but the bike doesn't function well enough with them. So first thing I'm going to do, and I'm not going to show you guys because it's boring, is I'm going to clean the two rear shocks that I have currently in the garage. I'll come back to you when they're clean. So you can see that these have been cleaned up and they've polished up nicely, and you can see that I've already adjusted the height on this one. This one is still at its bottom height, which would be fine on this bike, but I want to lift the tail slightly for its stance. Now any other adjustment we do after that will be up here, and we can adjust the spring compression rate and very slightly the height, which is good. So this shock is ready to go on here like this. All I'm going to be doing at this stage is undoing these two bolts and actually the other side two bolts, and then swapping these over. I will film some of it so you can see exactly what's going on, and we'll do a comparison in looks at the end and definitely in ride. I'd really like to be able to go over some speed bumps and not wreck the rear of the seat like that. So I've loosened the nuts now on both sides. These shocks should just swing off. I'm going to have to take the left shock off as well to be able to adapt for the height for the right shock. Careful with the number plate. So left shock's off. Right shock's going to have pressure on it because of the weight of the bike. Keep an eye on the stance of the bike now compared to after the change. See that drop? Very quick exchange, slightly higher stance, definitely stiffer, and we can make it more stiffer. So actually that's great at this stage. I've swapped the nuts around, have I? No, I've not. That's great. With a shock that thick and sturdy, you could probably get away with having one, but I'm obviously going to swap both just for stability. But this side looks fairly neat without the other one. I'm not sure how I feel about the modern rear shock on the classic bike, but again, for functionality, it's going to be well worth it, I think. I'm very, very tempted to use this bike and keep it myself. I'm going to adjust the other shock, get it to the same height as this one, and then I'll show you the same system bolting that on. So this side took a small amount of fettling with a persuasive tool or hammer, but that's just because of the adjustment on both sides. Oh, forgetting something. Oh, it's so close. But it's not touching. Oh. I'll throw the washer back in. It's just my luck to go over a speed bump, have it touch, and then have to start again. That's better. So there we have it. I thought I cleaned this better than I did. Maybe I cleaned the wrong side. WD-40 is great for cleaning, by the way, plus it helps it work anyway. And it's good for the chain, so if it drips on the chain, that's fine. There you go. Just get some of that crud off. So there we have it. Now, I believe if I sit on this bike, it should be less likely to bottom out. So much better. So much better, and it's more adjustable than that. So I think that was a great swap. The stance is a touch higher, although it kind of doesn't look like it, but it is a touch higher. And I might put some slight compression in the rear spring. I might just nip it up a bit to lift the stance a tiny bit more. But you know what? I'm not fully against that mod. I like the black original, but it was soft, and it was rubbish really. It just didn't do the job. I believe I can take this bike out now and it will go over the bumps fine, which is exactly what you want, especially for central London. So this video, Aydin, just for you. You asked for this one. And if you're totally against the swap, the originals are still there. I can throw them on, or I can paint the silver bits on that rear shock black, and we can look at that. But we'll see. I'm going to give this bike a test ride and come back and feedback as to how it went. So I'm back from my test ride and it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. The problem I had with this bike last time I took it out was because it kept bottoming out, and it was ripping the seat like I showed you earlier. Now I was flying over them bumps. You know, I'm 15 stone, and the bike's got good pull as well. There is definitely clutch slip in third and fourth. It's kind of slipping for a second and then catching, so I'm not sure what to do about that. Possibly new oil, possibly take the clutch plates out and rough them up a bit. But to be fair, it's right, you know, for central London it's riding very well, even with that tiny bit of clutch slip. So we'll see. Again, the bike's for sale. It should absolutely pass an MOT first time. I'll get it done on Saturday if it's still here. It starts first time, it runs and rides perfectly, and it's well worth the £1,200 it's up for. So if anyone's interested, let me know.